It's the book of James, chapter 5, beginning at verse 1. It says, Go to now, ye rich men, weep and howl for your miseries that shall weep and howl for your miseries that shall come upon you. Your riches are corrupted and your garments moth eaten. Verse 3, Your gold and silver is cankered, and the rust of them shall be a witness against you, and shall eat your flesh as it were fire. Ye have heaped treasures together for the last days. I want to start off by giving all praises, all honor, and all glory to call Loyim La Yahweh, Ba Hashem, Yahushai, Ba Hashem, Chakodas Wakatham, double honors to the apostles, to the elders of Great Millstone who do rule well. Peace and salutations to the Akim across the four corners of the earth, pushing this truth with faith and with sincerity, as well as risking their lives and the freedom to do so, now more so than ever. Shalom to the Akwat and Yakim out there listening and learning. Lord willing, this is an edifying lesson. Lord willingly, this is an edifying lesson. Shalom to the Israelite foreigners scattered abroad in the land of other nations, appearing like the other nations whom subscribe to this truth. To you, I say Shalom. It's Brother Yahweh Sap out of the GMS Cleveland Church, a fellow servant, coming at you with another lesson through the Spirit and through the power of Yahweh Shemi Ashai. So basically, I had seen this article maybe a couple of days ago on Newsbreak, and I try to grab and snatch articles when I can, when I come across them, if they're newsworthy, and I might not get to them that day, but I try to use that as topics to do videos on, unless the Spirit move me to speak on something. So, we living in those times. Scripture talks about a time of famines. That's all prophecy. Scriptures talk about, the things written before time were written for our learning. Signs and tokens and whatnot. So I think I just did a video about famine yesterday. So famine and inflation, because famine is not a complete lack of food. It's the ability to actually get food. When you go into the scriptures, although Jacob and his family, they had the money to buy the food. There wasn't any food in where they were located. So his sons, had to go venture into Egypt to basically secure food. And that's when they ran into Joseph. Also, because of the inflation kicking in, which will also bring forth a famine because everybody won't be able to afford the goods. So, this thing is getting serious and it's picking up, and that's why I brought out that James. It says your silver and gold is corrupted because of this inflation, because it's not real money. And though people are heaping to them possessions, the main thing that it talks about, you heap together treasures for the last days. The money's worthless. When you understand fiat currencies and the true wealth is this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. These are the true riches. So while you have an opportunity, because we are living in grace, especially 2/3 of our people, you have the opportunity to secure and build a relationship with, the Most High, your power, Abanawa, meaning our Father, Yahweh, and our big brother, his son, Yahweh Shah Mashiach. People are choosing to, basically be carnal, basically to trust in and invest in carnal things. That's why, like I said, I just did a video about all these people doing, talking about these bunkers. You had Khloe Kardashian show off her bunker, and now you got all, it was an article based on how these Britons was basically talking about stockpiling goods, because through the Spirit, people know something's about to happen and take place. They don't know what exactly. But they shouldn't be caught off guard, because at the end of the day, brothers are constantly pushing out the truth week in, week out. Now, don't get me wrong. I watched the one guy. His name is Action Jackson. He has a channel on YouTube, and I watch him from time to time because he's comical. He's a wordsmith. He can play with words. If he used his talent for something more productive like the truth, but most people don't want to suffer. Most people want the riches of this world. But saying all that to say this, he said it's a video on there with Michael Blackson that played in Friday After Next. Um, Played in a few different things. Be on Wild and Out. The black guy that played like he African, which he is not. He a Jake. He doesn't even have an accent. He just developed the African accent. He literally, it's an old episode with him on Judge Joe Brown, and he said all the years he been watching all them shows, he never knew that it was an episode with him on there. So, I mean, the Lord can keep whatever you want to keep from you and expose you to whatever he wants to expose. That's why some brothers, all brothers come in from different, well, brothers come in from different walks of life. You have some brothers that are familiar with certain things and have similar lives, and you have some brothers that experience things that some brothers haven't. Saying that all that to say this, the Lord can keep you from things or expose you to them. Saying, this is the time to be seeking the Most High Yahweh Shem Yahushua if you are a so-called Black, Hispanic, Native American, Seminole Indian, West Indian, or Haitian, because we are considered the poor. It talks about the poor and needy in the book of Isaiah chapter 10. We are considered the poor and the needy. We are the low and downtrodden. So when this shit get bad, because we was just talking about the price of inflation. I mean, inflation and how the food going up and up. Like one brother just talked about how chicken wings at the meat market. His mother said they used to be like $25 maybe a year ago. Now they like damn near double, and it ain't more. It's the same amount, if it's not a little bit less. So just imagine when you're gonna be in order to put food in your household, you're gonna be damn near spending your paycheck that you'll pay for rent. And you think these people give a fuck for real? These people not gonna care because they want you in a dire straits where you have to rely on them. So the article says it didn't feel like $80 worth of food. Inflation is making it hard to make healthy food choices. So I'm gonna play this a little bit.
Research shows that this is responsible for 50% of your risk for alcohol addiction. Yeah, they do look good. I did forget to check them inside. Oh yeah, I mean, gas prices are up. Obviously, everyone knows that. So that's an extra dollar per gallon that I'm paying to get into the city to work, and then we have the tolls that just went up this past year, $1. My eggs are $1 more as well, so everything's going up at least $1, which adds up, of course, especially when you have kids and gotta get groceries. I mean, my rent is absolutely ridiculous. So, and I just kind of see it kind of climbing to the point where I'll probably be just another one of these hundreds of thousands of people that's moving out of California.
And he's speaking about in California, but that's going to impact a lot of different cities. Of course, those cities like California, New York, Chicago, Florida, those major cities. But, that's going to impact everywhere because inflation, is basically on the rise. And the way the Fed is basically to control inflation, years past they was doing quantitative easing. Now they're allowing the interest rates to excel to check the inflation. So yeah, everything's about to be more expensive. And it's not coincidence that, not only is the price of food and, gas and rent and natural energy, all these things are more expensive. It makes me always think of Psalms 119 and 126 when I hear about that, all these things happen at one time because it talks about the Most High. It's time for the Most High to work because they have made void thy law. This is the time of judgment and it's coming. It's on the horizon. You can feel it. You can see it if you have a spiritual eyesight. It says, although it says Aurora, Colorado. Kevin Tave stretches a pot of spaghetti for 3 days of meals. Esmeralda Cortez gets eggs and bread from the food bank so she can afford laundry detergent at the store. And you already got Jake that has been living like that. You got Jake that may work a job, may qualify for, public assistance on food stamps and still go to a food pantry. What happens when They already talking about that these food banks are pretty much depleted. Although unemployment continues dropping and wages are on the rise all across the country, low-income people are struggling to put food on the table as skyrocketing inflation and high gas prices take a bigger bite of their already small paychecks. Because it's already been made known that most of these people are living paycheck to paycheck. People don't really have any savings. With this credit-based system was basically the beginning of setting these people up for failure. You can basically get credit. You can make an income of $100,000 but live in a $400,000 house. What happens, but what happens when other things get more expensive? Your credit ain't gonna mean shit because you can't even afford to pay what you. I mean, like maybe you only have to pay a percent or a quarter of what the real value of something is. At the end of the day, when food is more expensive and gas is more expensive. I knew a female that lived in Cleveland that lives in California now, and I would always assume that she had big money. I mean, she had a house built in California. But, she was showing on Facebook how basically how much the gas was to fill up her tank. And she was talking about how, like, she normally doesn't work. She works from home, but once in a while have to go into the office. And she was just complaining about, that's why she's going to do more days at home. So everybody feeling the squeeze of this, except for the mega, mega rich. It said something about $20 an hour. You might be making $20 an hour, but what you're paying out is so much more. And that's the truth. And rent and gas and food, especially when you're single. And now just imagine a person that's got children. When you have children, $20 an hour for a person that's single with no responsibilities, as opposed to a person that has children, $20 an hour is like $8. A newborn. They say in the first year you need at least like 10,000 for diapers and the clothing, the crib, the bed, the stroller, all the little necessities that a child might need that first year. You need about like 10 bands. So with the cost of the inflation kicking in, and it costs more money to buy the same amount, or if not less. Yeah, that's just prelude to the demise of Babylon the Great. So this is going into all these different people with their personal testimony. They've been tending to do that lately too. I don't know if they mocking people or what. Personally speaking to people, because people need to vent though. That's a good way to calm a person down when they get to talk about it. When a person basically boils or holds things in, that's when you get that falling down moments, when a person goes on a rampage. Well, scriptures talk about how the money was going to fail. This is the book of Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 2. And the Lord answered me and said, write the vision and make it plain upon table, meaning the vision, meaning the prophecies. Make them simple. You ain't got to be extravagant. You ain't got to do semantics. You say it, plainly. Break it down to, like if you're speaking to children, not to be condescending, but to make it as plain as possible. It says that he may run that readeth it, for the vision is yet for a point of time. Again, meaning the prophecies. But at the end it shall speak and not lie, though it tarry, meaning it seems like these things start and stop and start and stop. When it lingers, they say make no tarrying when they come to the Lord, putting that off day for day. I believe it said it like that. I hope I didn't butcher that. But basically, tarrying is to linger or to hold back. Though tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. You'll be a fool to go back into the world, being have known this truth, and to literally go back in the world knowing that there's nothing in the world. And that's how it's truly spiritual for men that have picked up the plow and have done some of the work, only to turn back when we're closer to the end more than ever before. Verse 4, behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith. Because at the end of the day, the just is not relying on Esau, Edom. The just is already again low. It talks about again in the book of Isaiah chapter 10 about how the poor and needy, Israel, Yasharallah is the poor and needy. We don't have a defense here. We don't have a standing army. We don't even have our own land. We captives, in this place that took us that made us captives. You got to remember that. And then they gave you this, this idea of you free when you not free at all. You have the illusion of freedom. You can't. I owe debt. I can't just lead. I can't even get a passport to lead the country because I'm considered a felon in this system's eyes. Verse 5, yea, also because he transgresseth by wine, meaning his philosophies. He is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desires hell, because he is a greedy man. He's a carnal man, so he wants to take. That's why this devil can literally own all this land and then let people sleep outside on nothing. When you got the power and ability for people not to starve, for people to actually you got abandoned land masses right now that's not even being utilized. It says, and it has death and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations and heapeth unto him all people. Because he burns to be like the Most High. That's what it tells you in the book of Ezekiel, chapter 28. Basically, want to be like the Most High, calling himself, want to be like a God, calling himself God. He's like, but he is a man, roughly paraphrased. Verse 6, shall not all these take up a parable against him, meaning the people, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his. The Most High God, Yahweh, sanctioned for all the nations that have their inheritance of land. This devil is the only one that wants to take over all the land. Even when we get in rulership, we will rule, the nations, rule over the nations, but, nations will have their allotted land. They'll just pay tribute to us. And say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his, how long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay. When you go into that word thick clay, it basically means debt. And this Federal Reserve note is a debt note. And then, like I say, in the scriptures it mentions ancient Egypt, and when they went through a famine, and basically inflation when the money felleth. And this is the modern day Egypt. So everything reincarnates, everything happens, there's no new thing under the sun. That's what the book of Ecclesiastes chapter 1 tells you. There's no new thing under the sun. That's why you see trends come back over and over. Clothing, trends, musical styles. That's why they constantly sample beats and regurgitate and recycle the same beats. It might be done and tweaked in a different way to a degree. This is the book of Genesis chapter 47, verse 15. And when money fell up in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan, all the Egyptians came unto Joseph and said, give us bread, for why should we die in the presence, for the money felleth. So when the money ain't going to be no good, these devils showing you how much they know the Bible, they're basically cutting the resources. They destroying the money to have you reliant on them. And it's not even them completely. I mean, it's actually them believing they control themselves. It's the Most High. It's the Most High's plan. Ultimately, all things work to the good for those that love him. That's the scripture that popped in mind. But it tells you all things happen in the heavens before they happen on the earth. So it's ultimately the will of Yahweh Shem Yahushua that this happen. But they using the scriptures as a playbook. Eventually, when because what is the main thing people need to survive? Food. You can go a lot longer without food than water, but everybody needs food. Again, when you go in the book of Lamentations, it's a horrible death to die by starvation. Those that pine away. You ever seen somebody starving? Remember those little commercials when they was talking about feed a child, the Christian Foundation, whatever. I remember them commercials. When the kids be sitting over there looking starved. Showing you that red, the so-called white man, the red Hebrew Edomite had possession of that. Remember when Bush and Clinton basically had that foundation charity for what happened in Haiti with the it was a storm. It was something that happened over there. And it was something that happened over there where they basically was had a charity where they was raising up money, and they was talking about how the people over there never seen none of the money. When you go into the Red Cross, as much money, blood drives and fundraisers they do. You know how corrupt that actual organization is? You know, like I said, I remember a guy when I was homeless. He had a soup kitchen, but he wasn't affiliated. He didn't even believe in the scriptures. So, what was the purpose of you having this 501c3? What was you doing? Because he was getting donations and you know he's dealing with all these different churches. He always had these Edomite churches down there. So, who's to say what he was getting from them? You know, you could do a lot with a 501c3, just like you could do a lot with an LLC, because the way Esau's system is set up. So again, by them destroying the dollar bill and basically taking away your option of how you're gonna feed yourself, because nobody owns any land. Shit, most people, my generation don't even know how to plant nothing. That's why I found it funny that the teacher gave my daughter a plant. You know what I mean? Now, it's not difficult to plant, but, you know, because a plant is alive. You know, I remember my brother bred some pits one time, and he sold them to a lot of guys we grew up around. And most of them niggas, like, the dog either got stolen or, you know what I mean? It was only, like, one person that kept the dog alive. You know, for the most part, one dude, his dog died. Because most people don't know how to take care of fucking nothing. I was gonna get the account in Second Kings about the famine in Samaria, but I'm pressed for time to a degree. This is Second Ezra chapter 6, verse 22. This is another prophecy. It says, "And suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown, the full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty." So we see pictures. Dabu 7 is good for posting pictures of the supermarket aisles being empty. Well, you know, you got people reporting on this because this is what's truly happening. You might not see it, but it's happening somewhere. And you got to understand, it's a such thing called a supply chain. It's a big chain, a visible chain, but a chain nonetheless that has been disrupted based on this CV-19, based on these trucker protests. Because you forgot about all that happened. You know, and, you know, prophecy says that it's going to be a lack of food, a lack of bread. I'm going to end it with this Isaiah. Isaiah chapter 65. We'll start at verse 11. This is Isaiah 65 and 11. "But ye are they that forsake the Lord Yahweh, that forgot my holy mountain, that prepare a table for that troop, and that furnish the drink offerings unto that number." Verse 12, "Therefore will I number you to the sword, and ye shall all bow down to the slaughter." So, you know, you have a number of our people, 2/3, when you go into it, of our people that was given this beautiful truth and rejected it. They fanned the shoulder. You know, they fanned the hand and rolled the shoulder. You know, they rather, you know, be joined under Babylon. So they're no longer, you know, Israelites. They're considered heathens. And it tells you in the book of Isaiah, those that be joined on to them shall be thrust through. So being that you made this, you know, pact with Esau Edom, who you ignorantly call the so-called white man, you know, you're gonna fall with him. "Because when I called, ye did not answer. When I spake, ye did not hear, but did evil before my eyes, and did choose that wherein I delighted not." And basically, when you choose and forsake the laws of the Heavenly Father, although you agree because you made a covenant with him, then yeah, that's he delighted not in it. You know what I mean? That's evil before the Most High. Verse 13, "Therefore thus saith the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, behold, my servants shall eat, but ye shall be hungry. Behold, my servants shall drink, but ye shall be thirsty. Behold, my servants shall rejoice, but ye shall be ashamed." God. Verse 14, "Behold, my servants shall sing for joy of heart, but ye shall cry for sorrow of heart, and shall howl for vexation of spirit." Yeah, because, I mean, like, and, you know, people were vexed when they was locked down and they wasn't getting no answers from their churches and from the politicians that you so adamantly look up to. But being that they opened everything, people seem to forget. It talks about how in prosperity it's a forgetfulness of affliction, and an affliction is a forgetfulness of prosperity. You know, had a lot to. Job was well to do, but when the Lord took him through his trial and tribulation and his hell, you know, he complained because we've all been there, you know, but at the same time, that's why it's so important to stay in these scriptures. You know, the Lord, it talks about the Most High God chastising those that He loves. So He punishes the wicked, but the wicked don't really understand why they're getting punished. They just think that's life. You know what I mean? You know, brothers in the truth can understand and cope with it a lot better because they understand that they have transgressed the laws of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. Like, I wasn't always aware I was an Israelite, so I was sinning prior to coming into the truth. Now, if the Lord wasn't merciful, He wouldn't even open my eyes up to the truth. Because I could be a goofy ass nigga still in the world trying to make $1 million when the money system about to change over. Well, no, I was spared from that. Call Loyam La Yahweh Shem Yahushua. But it talks about that basically the Most High requires that which is past. So if you sin, you gonna pay for your sin. Yahweh Shai didn't see it in his who you people ignorantly call Jesus Christ. He didn't sin in his incarnation as Yahweh Shai, but he sinned in his previous incarnation. I ain't gonna go too deep. But again, it's no new thing under the sun. Scripture talks about reincarnation. That's why it talks about John the Baptist was Elijah. If you can receive it. So yeah, expect inflation to get worse and worse until people go crazy and that's what they banking on. They banking on people to go crazy, the crime to go up, so they can actually basically enforce and bring the order out of the chaos, order out of chaos. So if you're so-called Black, Hispanic, Native American, Seminole Indian, West Indian, or Haitian, I implore you to come back to the laws, to the statutes, and to the commandments of Yahweh Shem Yahushua, or you will be destroyed. And with that, I want to give all praises, all honor, and all glory to call Loyam, La Yahweh, Ba Hashem Yahushua, Ba Hashem, double honors to the apostles and to the elders of Great Millstone who do rule well. Peace and salutations to the Akim across the four corners of the earth, pushing His truth with faith and with sincerity, as well as risking their lives and the freedom to do so, now more so than ever. Shalom to the Akwat and the Akim out there listening and learning. Lord, willingly this is edifying. Shalom to the Israelite foreigners scattered abroad in the land of other nations, appearing like the other nations, but subscribing to this truth. To you, I say shalom. Till next time I'm able to come with another lesson. Shalom, shalom. Mawath lababal. Shalom.